All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll let some people trickle in while we're doing intros, but my name is Nate Jones, co-founder and CEO of Structurally, where we do lead nurture and follow-up with an AI product we call ISSA Homes for real estate, mortgage, and sales and marketing leads. Today, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, authentic automation, and got the one and only Robby T with us today, who is the expert at all things authentic and automation and lead conversion. Robby, what's going on? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, it's always weird to reintroduce myself. Most people on here, unfortunately, have heard my face talk too many times. Robby T, based in good old Fargo, North Dakota, Moorhead, Minnesota, whatever I want to call it. I'm a former ISSA, and really all I do is every single day live, breathe, and die lead conversion. I don't know if that's a good thing yet. I'm still trying to figure that out, but it is what it is. So that's what I do, and excited to kind of share my perspective on some of the things that we've co-created, as well as some of the cool things that we've been doing that are really changing the game of lead conversion and really, frankly, lead follow-up. So I'm going to be talking about something later that is really changing for us the definition of what follow-up looks like. So super excited to share that with you all. And by the way, I love lemons. So if you ever want to win me over, just get me some lemons.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I know where you're going with the whole flipping the lead conversion game on its head.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share that with everyone, and we'll get there. But we want to kind of take a step back. So again, we're going to be talking about authentic automation for lead conversion today. What we're going to kind of dive into, I think it breaks into two different categories. Yeah. Obviously, like getting a lead to respond, and then responding to a lead who has responded themselves. So I kind of call that speed to lead, which you've heard before. That's a term that's been used for 5-10 years. You know how important it is. Speed to lead relates to new inquiries, and you're 21 times less likely to contact a lead after just 5 minutes of not engaging with them. Those are kind of table stakes in today's world. And
I love that table stakes.
Yeah. It's a word that you guys don't know.
Yeah, that's an Iowa thing. Just so y'all know, I got to call Nate out. Table stakes is like a part of the vernacular, and everyone else on here is like, what do you mean table stakes? So what do you mean by that, Nate Jones?
Baseline.
There you go.
Lead is a baseline. Sorry, it must be the Iowa vernacular here, I guess, coming out in full swing today.
Yeah.
Surprised they don't have a cornfield in the background. Just full cliche Iowan. But lead to lead is all about the new inquiry and responding to leads quickly and following up with them. Mm-hmm. Speed to response is something we're going to be talking a lot about today, but is where things are moving to being more important. These are for more of your existing leads after you've quickly actually engaged them within under 5 minutes. Once you got them on the hook, you've done a lot of work to get them to respond, and you need to respond within at least 30 minutes, at least within the day. If you don't respond within 24 hours, they're gone forever. You've lost that customer for life, and you've shot all of the money and work that you've put in to get them to respond down the drain. Completely useless. So we're going to be kind of talking about both today. To kick things off, speed to lead. This is something that Robby has been kind of expertly studying and crafting with his drip messages over the past however many years and however many hundreds of thousands of messages like this have gone out. There is one and only one goal to speed to lead. It is to get the lead to respond by all means necessary. So you can see here, this is an example of a drip campaign that Robby has created for his Hatch messaging and Hatch ISA. It's one that works really well. It's kind of funny. It talks about, one of 3 options. You've been abducted by aliens. You are interested in buying. You've been busy, or you're not interested, with a GIF of the Toy Story aliens. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add here, Robby, why this works or how to make it work better.
Yeah, so a couple different things. So speed to lead for us, like you said, it's about getting the lead to respond. And where a lot of people go wrong in real estate is they're only seeking out yes-oriented questions. And here's what I'll explain is, I just read a really fabulous book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I reread it actually. And he said one of the greatest things you can do if you want to get authentic responses, right? Because we don't just want responses, we want authentic responses, is give people permission to say no. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's so different about our authentic automation is we are literally asking questions in a manner that gives somebody an out. The funny thing, Nate, is when I first started doing this, I remember when people first heard our opening script, because our opening script is always, hey, I saw that you were looking at some homes on one of our websites. Are you just kind of looking for fun, which is giving them a permission to say no, or are you thinking about making a move? I remember catching flack from so many people saying, why are you giving them an out? And here's the funny thing. The reason I was giving them an out is because it gives you a more authentic answer. The person feels more safe. They feel more comfortable with you if they don't feel like they're only being pressured to say yes. So even look at the aliens email, right? Number one is you are no longer interested in buying or selling. I'm giving a lead permission to say no. The funny thing is this is the most common response to that question when you look at it is almost always number two. Sometimes people say number three to kind of mess with you. It's rarely number one. It's almost always number two. And it's because we're giving people permission to say no. And a lot of people don't do that, but you should be, because it creates a circle of safety, to steal from Simon Sinek, that allows a lead to feel comfortable to give you an authentic response. And that's all I care about is I want an authentic response in some way, shape, or form. And then the other big thing is if they do say no, that doesn't just mean I give up and roll over and I'm done. I want to ask another question. Like, okay, so you're just looking for fun. What had you interested in real estate? Right? I'm going to ask another question, or I'm going to say, okay, so you're really not that interested, but let's say the ideal home came on the market sometime soon. Is that something you'd be interested in? Right? Something along those lines. So we're not just giving up, but the authentic automation is giving people the opportunity to say no.
That is a great segue into our next slide, which is speed to response, in exactly an example of what you just talked about. We kind of want people to say no. We want to challenge it. It opens us up to keeping them on the line, talking to them, having a conversation, listening to them, mirroring and matching them, which is the primary goal of speed and response. So if you look at this conversation over here on the right side, you know, this person's saying that their lease is running out in August. This is just an example of mirroring and matching. I'll kind of get into what Robby was talking about in the objection handling in the next slide. But you always have to have the baseline of listening, mirroring, and matching. What the Robby T way is, leads want to be heard, understood, and valued. Yeah. And that's the number one priority. And once you get them on the hook, this is really easy. This isn't a script that's particularly challenging. It's not a script that's very salesy. It's just literally saying what they say back to us. They're renting 2-bed, 1-bath. You know, what locations are you looking in? Hendersonville and I don't even know how to say that, Gallatin. So we say it back.
Exactly.
Super easy stuff. And this is, again, this is the Structurally product, having this authentic conversation that is mirroring and matching. But like Robby said, this is one of the most common phrases we see to that opening script or something like it, where you know, you say, are you just looking, or are you thinking about making a move within the next year or so? Very common response, just checking, I'm just beginning my search.
Which is the legitimate answer, by the way, right? That's what people don't realize with internet leads. That's almost always the case, is I'm just beginning the search. Like, for those that don't know this, we've run data on our average days from registration to close on a PPC lead, and it's 640-ish days. So literally, when they say that, that's the truth, right? That's authentic. You got to ask another question to see maybe if they think about it differently. But yeah, a lot of times that's the God's honest truth.
Yeah, and so exactly what Robby was describing earlier. You know, this is a challenge question. By the way, if the ideal home came on the market in the next 90 days, would you consider viewing that home, or would you pass on that opportunity? What does that question mean? How is that question play into our authenticity, Robby? Why do you ask that here?
So we ask it for a couple different reasons. It's a theory that I call challenging somebody's thinking. And one of the biggest problems with lead generators is they think that just because a lead said it, that's the absolute truth, meaning that the story can't change. When in reality, I've asked people questions, or people have asked me questions, and instantly my thought process changed, and I maybe looked at a problem or a question quite differently, right? So I think the biggest thing that I'll say, the reason we're asking this question is because somebody might be thinking that they're wanting to wait 6, 9, 12, 18, 24 months. But then you say, you know, if that ideal home came on the market, you present a scenario, not in a pushy way. I'm not telling you go buy a home in the next 90 days. I'm saying if the ideal home came on the market in the next 90 days, is that something you consider, or would you miss out on that opportunity? And just by asking that question, one of two things are going to happen almost every single time. Either they're going to say, yeah, I would actually be interested in it. I want to go and view it. And if they say they want to go view it, they wouldn't want to buy it. Or they're going to say, no, not at all. I don't retire until next August. I don't want to do anything till then. So you get a more substantive, authentic answer. And that's the thing, right? Authentic automation leads to more authentic answers. That's the whole point behind all of this. So that's why we asked that question.
Yeah. What do you think that agents and salespeople do in this situation? What do you think has not worked? And what do you think the most common failure here is if someone gets the very common objection of, I'm just starting my search, or I'm just looking? What would the typical agent do here, and why is it wrong?
So there would be probably 3 different things I see happen. We're going to start with the most common and the most dangerous. The most common is, all right, no problem, just let me know, have a great day, right? They basically just hear no, and it's almost always because the person's so darn busy that they don't care. They only want to work with the lowest hanging fruit. So they literally say, okay, no problem, keep using the site, have a great day. So they just move on. Whether that's voice to voice, they hear that voice to voice on the phone, or in written format. I see that happen quite a bit. The second thing I see happen is people are like, oh, okay, totally makes sense. Well, let's get you set up on a safe search. That way you get the listings you want. And here's what I'll tell you. And I want you to truly, anyone on this webinar that ever watches this, truly reflect on this. When was the last time a safe search sold a home for you? It doesn't, right? This is the funny thing. The common mantra out there is, let's get somebody on a safe search, and they think it's going to sell thousands of homes. The funny thing, Nate, to kind of give numbers on this was, I was in ISSA for about 2.5, 3 years. I made over 100,000 calls, spoke to 10,000 people, set about 1,000 appointments, and that led to about 400 some closings. I forget the exact number, between 400 and 500 total closings. I set up less than 200 safe searches because I found no value in it. And the reason I found no value in it is leads don't find value in it. They're getting safe searches from 5 or 6 different people, from Zillow, from Realtor.com. And even if you are lucky enough that it was your safe search that sent the right home, that doesn't mean that they're going to reach out to you. The more likely scenarios are going to drive past the house, see a sign in the yard, and call the listing agent. And I know that because I was the ISA that took the sign calls. And I was one of the few people that would actually ask leads, like, so how did you hear about this house, in the conversation? And people would literally tell me, Nate, well, you sent it to me. And I'd be like, hold on a second. And I'd go look in the CRM, and sure as heck, they're not in there. So I was literally stealing leads from other agents. And that's what people do, right? Nate, you probably did this at least once, where you saw a listing come through from your Zillow safe search, or I don't know, whatever safe search you were using. And if you even weren't working with an agent, and you didn't want to reach out to an agent yet, so you just drove past it to see it. And then you're like, what most people don't realize is leads don't know there's a difference between who sent the safe search and whose sign is in the yard. They don't care about that stuff, but for some reason we do. So I think it's so overrated. So the second big pitfall is people put people on safe searches and it doesn't do anything. And they spend so much time on tweaking it and changing it. And the quote I'll say to you is, save searches don't sell homes. Relationships do, communication does, connection does. And that's why this stuff works so much better, right? There's one more thing as well. There's a third thing, but I can't think of it. I'll come back to that later.
I think to wrap up that last point, leads aren't loyal.
No, they don't care about you.
But you can at least get them, more loyal to you by actually building a relationship. That is what a relationship is. You get into a marriage and someone is loyal to you.
Yep.
But someone's not loyal to you because, I don't know, you bought them a meal or some basic, vanity thing like a saved search. So I completely agree with you there. These aren't loyal. They don't care.
I think some will be loyal if you've earned their loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got to earn their commitment. What people don't realize is you putting them on a safe search does nothing in terms of loyalty, right? Nothing, because they know that they can go create their own safe search. So it's not value to them. Now, if you've engaged in a really deep, in-depth conversation where you've learned all about their needs, wants, and desires, and now you're moving mountains to have a conversation or meet with them to talk about them and bring it to the next level, that creates trust, right? That creates commitment and connection. That creates loyalty. Loyalty doesn't come from you sending somebody home at all, frankly. Even in our case, the only reason people come back to the agents that they're working with on our team has nothing to do with the fact that we're sending them the safe searches. It has everything to do with the fact that they've met with my agents, they've had an hour-long conversation, talked all about their needs, wants, and desires, and that created the commitment that leads to them working with our agents, not the other way around. So it's one of the biggest fallacies I see, man. Whenever I can, I go on my safe search rants because I think they're fine, but don't pour a ton of time into tweaking them. I think it's really kind of pointless.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
Oh, I remember the third one. All right, so the third one is, well, Nate, interest rates are so low right now, you really need to be buying a house, right? They use the hard, pushy scripts, and that's probably the worst, because what happens is Nate automatically defines you as that pushy salesman he never wants to work with. And the problem with it ruins your long-term prospect. And what happens is a lot of people will just, at that point, be like, oh yeah, put me on a safe search. And they'll say yes, not out of a commitment, but to get off the phone with you because I don't like you. Mm-hmm. So the three things, right, are really that. It's the pushy, salesy script, the layover or the rollover where you just give up. And then, the other thing is just using the safe search as a crutch. All three strategies don't convert leads.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And to that last point, the third point, they want to get off the phone, even if they say yes to a safe search, they're going to ghost you. You'll never hear from them again.
Yep.
It's just a nice way to get off the phone. But speaking of ghosting, don't get ghosted.
Yeah.
This is something we've talked about quite a bit in our previous ISA episodes, but leads are busy. They have, especially when they're on their phone, especially when they're texting, they have probably 5 notifications coming in from ESPN, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, all on their phone while they're trying to respond to your text message. So don't feel bad if they ghost you. They probably started to write a message, at least we think, and got sidetracked. We all have done it. And it's just part of the game, but you can't give up there. So what we mean by don't get ghosted is you can look at this conversation. This is that same conversation where they said they were just looking. We challenged them. They didn't hear back from us. And we followed up with them again a month later. So this was yesterday, as in July 22nd. We followed up with them pretty much a month later or a little bit more and said, hey, we spoke a few months back about your potential interest to move. I wanted to see if your plans have changed at all. Robby, what does that message do for you?
Yeah.
Have your plans changed at all?
Yeah, so the big thing is it's giving permission again for someone to say, yes, I'm just looking to do something, or no, I'm not. I just bought a house. And there's a lot of people in real estate, right, that think that lead conversion at high levels means you're going to convert all leads, right? The funny thing is the best lead converters I know, they don't care about converting 90% of leads. They care about converting the 4% that they can actually get, and they do everything they can. So it's all a process of, if we find a no, if they're not interested, we don't need to pour any energy into them. So I think the biggest thing that really what this does is it allows you, if they've already bought a house, you don't have to pour any more resources into them, right? You don't need to call them. And time is your most valuable resource, no matter what role you're in. And if you're calling leads that have already bought a house, it's pointless. This type of message helps you find your no's so you can spend more time on your yeses. That's really what this does.
Mm-hmm. So I have a question for you, Robby, and everyone listening. How many leads do you think you have in your database right now that have ghosted you? I want everyone to think about that. Hopefully, it's not tens of thousands or thousands. Hopefully, it's just a few. But even, Robby's team of some of the best ISAs in the country, I'm sure that you have some people who've ghosted you.
So you can't control whether you get ghosted. You can control what do you do when you get ghosted to change it.
Exactly.
Right? That's how you can do it. And that's why I love this is you turn getting ghosted into not getting ghosted, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about what can you do with the situation. So yeah, 100%.
So you have that opportunity in your database right now. Try and find them. It depends on the functionality of your CRM, but see if you can filter by leads who don't have a text message in the last 2 months or 3 months or so. That's something you can do instructionally, using stages of not responded or something like that. But see if you can create a filter. See if you can write a general message to those that have ghosted you, like, hey, I haven't heard back from you in a while. Have your plans changed? Yep. Something super generic. It applies to leads who've been ghosting you for 3 years or 3 months. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Have your plans changed? Super easy to get unghosted.
Oh, and have I ever showed you the one I love, Nate? The one from Finding Nemo. I only do this with friends. So if you ever do this, or if you have an in-depth conversation, you've been ghosted. It's basically in Finding Nemo. If you remember the niece in the dentist's office, she's pounding like this. If you can see me, she's pounding on the glass. And I should just create that GIF, by the way.
I'm going to look back at this recording and steal this as a GIF. So
100%. We should try it, dude. It'd probably work really well. But what it does is it's a visual way of communicating, hey, are you there? Did you see this? And it's crazy. I'm not kidding. Every single time I've sent that bad guy, every single time I got a response. Never have I been ghosted beyond that point. Now, I have not tried that with leads yet. I think I should, though. I should go and try that out. Some people might think it's too aggressive. I don't know. We got to try it out. But it works every time. But sending something is so key. So many people are afraid of, like, well, I got ghosted. See ya, bye. I'm done. Over it. And you just got to send something. Send this, or be like, hey, I didn't hear back from you. I just wanted to check back in again. Honestly, just sending something like that and give them an opportunity to respond. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of people then go wrong is they're like, I want to update your saved search, or they're really pushy and salesy. And those types of messages, it just turns leads off. We've talked about this, I don't know, probably 150 times, Nate, but you just got to put yourself in the shoes of the lead. And what would you want to receive? You got to put yourself in if I were a lead, would I want to receive this message or not? And a lot of times we just fail that test because we don't take that hat off, our sales hat, and put on our human hat, our authentic hat. A lot of people just fail to do that.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. So I want to show this full conversation that we've had and do a little recap. So the anatomy of an authentic automation is to respond to an inquiry quickly, follow up consistently, respond back instantly, objection handle and challenge, don't get ghosted, respond back instantly again, and then rinse and repeat until they're closed. So here is an example of that full conversation, if I can get it to play.
We'll see a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's basically just that full conversation I've been going through. So here's the lead came in, we responded to him very quickly. We sent him the famous "let me know if I can help" message 12 minutes after they replied with no response. Followed up with them 1, 2, 3, 4 times until they responded about a week later. So here's that message. They challenge. They say, I'm just starting my search. Sure. So it sounds like you're just starting to get a feel. They ghosted us for 2 months, followed up with them, sent them another message. It's hard.
Yeah.
I feel for the ISAs and the agents out there chasing them. They most leads are not a walk in the park. They want you to chase them. Well, they don't want you to chase them, but they need you to chase them. Otherwise, they'll go somewhere else. They're not loyal. Leads aren't loyal. And this is just one example of how hard it is to stay on top of leads consistently. And that's why we want to bring in this automation piece. Your ISAs can't do all of this manually. This conversation alone that hasn't even closed yet took over the span of 3 months. Just to get them, it's like pulling teeth, just to get them a few responses deep. So you're just starting to build up that baseline of conversation, or that baseline of a relationship. So you can call them or, meet them or get them in a buyer agreement. It's hard, and you have to leverage automation, but you have to leverage it authentically.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's kind of where I want to transition into. Okay, now it's time for the ISA. Like I was just saying, at some point after these 3 months, after the automation has tried to do its thing, after it's built the baseline of relationship, ultimately we need someone to step in and have a phone call with them. Mm-hmm. One of the ways that I like to do this, at least within structurally, is by looking at leads that need agent follow-up. This is a stage that we categorize for you. So these are a lead who have said something like, text me, or I'm ready to move within the next 3 months, or email me, or I'd like to go see a property. These are leads that want to take the next step, but agent engaged is false. That means an agent hasn't followed up with yet. This is a perfect opportunity for a list of ISAs, or for ISAs to call through, text through, email through. So Robby, I want to get your take on this. What does a typical day look like for your ISAs? I know obviously they're managing this whole huge pipeline of leads that might have registered 3 months ago, that they're just trying to get to a point where they can call. But how are they trying to win appointments? How are they trying to influence the bottom line in the right way after the automation has done its thing?
It's crazy, man, because what was it, probably about 18 months ago, we did our audacious webinar about our dials dying, right? Or a dial's dead. And I think we saw the writing on the wall that the old school methodology of just calls was, the writing on the wall was we were a shift away from that happening, from an ending. And what I'll tell you now is, in our world, our ISAs are making less calls, our more seasoned ISAs, I should say, that have a pipeline. They're making less calls than ever before. And instead, they're using automation to do a ton of the filtering of people and getting those people to text them back and call them back. And we're going to talk a little bit about how I think, and this is a vision Nate and I talked about years ago, I think we're starting to see the reality of follow-up used to be something that agents and ISAs, and if your agent is making the call, to me, they are an ISA. They're wearing an ISA hat. If you hear me use the ISA verbiage. It used to be follow-up was a game that ISAs played to follow up with leads. What we're shifting it to is follow-up is something now where the lead reaches out to us. And we've just flipped it using automated messaging, things like structurally, and we're using automated plans within Sierra at an incredibly high level now. And what it's all doing is it's all in shifting the follow-up, conversations. And what's nuts is we're getting people to call us back. We're actually, and again, we'll get to this in a little bit, we're seeing higher contact rates, and we're not having to pick up the phone. So Jim, for example, or Cody, they would have to sit there and make dials and dials and dials. And if you were to go look at Jim right now, Jim is working less than he's ever worked before. And he's getting more and more responses. He's contacting 30 to 40 to 50 people a day. and he's not having to pick up the phone. Used to make hundreds of dials. Now it's like 30, 40 dials tops. And that's the shift that's happened is the old school model of dials, frankly, calling the shot, it's going to become an old school thing. And of course, you can't text and use this automation with leads that haven't opted in. Let's make sure we're very clear about that, cover our own tail every time. But with internet leads, the game is shifting from dials to use automation to make them follow up with you. And a lot of people are still playing that old school game, man. And honestly, it's just so much work and it's not necessary. And the funny thing is, when we shifted it, our contact rate went up, even though I thought it would, go down. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's the big thing. For us, really what they're doing is they're monitoring conversations happening instructionally, hopping in it and commandeering it when it needs to happen. They're doing the same thing with the Hatch ISA and RAIA conversations through iLopo. And then, of course, the biggest thing they're doing is we live by a rule in our world called inbox zero. So what that means is in Sierra, all callbacks and texts and emails back show up in your inbox. And we live by the rule, if you need it zeroed out. It needs to be completely zeroed out. And that's always the goal, right? And Cody pointed out the other day that when he started the morning off at 8:30, there was nothing in there. And he had sent out a mass message and he had 243 texts back shortly later that morning. All he did was click a button. That's the power of automation is let it do the filtering for you. Let them tell you now. And then he can carry on the conversation and maybe challenge it. But the old school ideology of just sit there and dial, which was me, like that was how I got started in this game. That is dying. And it's going to die completely for many different reasons. It's just not the smart way to do it anymore. You can do it a different way. You can do it smarter using the automation tools that Structurally has or the things that we've built in Sierra. It's just a different way of playing the lead conversion game.
Yeah, that's what I was so excited to hear about. And going back to the slide, the reason why we're here, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
We are using authentic automation to convert more leads.
Amen.
And what you've learned firsthand through your ISA team, Cody and Jim, is you flipped it on your head. That you click a button and you get leads to tee themselves up.
Correct.
And rather than just simply, it would take someone, I don't know, all day to dial 240 leads or whatever you said he got response.
If you want to get more than, truly, if you wanted to contact more than 30 people on average per day, just calling, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You could not average it. It's just not possible. It's at scale. Some people will do it like for a brief period of time, but it just won't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that now that call answer rates have plummeted. We saw it spike up, of course, during COVID. And my whole theory behind that was people were bored at home and people were expecting phone calls from random phone numbers, right? Whether it was their landlord or maybe their bank or maybe the small business association, they were expecting calls from random phone numbers. They're not expecting those anymore. And call answer rates have gone back down again. It's just people aren't answering the phones like they used to. That's just really all it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to kind of shift it into questions for the audience. We don't do a lot of this, but this is I think we're at a point where, if I was in your shoes listening to Robby talk about clicking a button and having 240 leads teed up, I'd have questions. I'd want to know how we're doing it. So I'll let you guys think of some questions, shoot us a message here in chat and we'll get to it. We'll either talk about it here or answer it there in chat. But any questions you have for us about what tech we're using, what tech Robby's ISAs are using, CRM, lead generation, lead follow-up, fire away. We're here to listen. If not, you can always find us at structurally.com or hatchcoaching.com. Robby, is there anything else that you didn't think we've covered adequately while we let some questions come in, if any?
Yeah, so I'll maybe just talk about how we're doing more of the let's click a button and get a ton of leads to follow up. So let's talk about the old school game of follow-up for a moment, right? Let's say, Nate, you were a lead of mine and you told me that you wanted to do something a year later. And then, of course, I got clarity and you told me you wanted to wait a year because maybe you're moving there for a job opportunity 12 months from now. So it's very legitimate, right? That's the biggest thing. What I would probably do is, in the old school model, I would manually schedule a follow-up. I would call you roughly 12 months later. If you didn't answer, I would leave this voicemail for you, shoot a manual text, and shoot a manual email because I wanted to be authentic, right? And that generally, when we run the numbers, there's two things you should know. First off, it usually takes about 5 minutes of time to do that for every single follow-up, right? Call, voicemail, text, email, right? It takes a good amount of time to write it all. And then the contact rate was 25%. Please remember that number. When we started thinking about this differently, and I give full credit to Mike Novak, if you know who he is, he came to me and he's like, dude, I don't have time to call any of my follow-ups anymore. He's like, we got to solve this. And he came to me and he's like, can we automate follow-up? And I was so darn hesitant to do it because I was like, I was afraid it would violate the authentic side of things, to be completely honest. Well, what we were able to build in Sierra are these, what we're calling fully automated follow-up campaigns. And the cool thing about it is it layers a custom voicemail drip, a custom voicemail into a text and email or text campaign. And what it does is we make it seem like Jim just called. So Nate, again, at the 12-month mark, here's what's going to happen is you're going to get a voicemail drop from me. It's going to say something like, hey, my friend, it's Robby with Hatch Realty following up like you requested. We connected about a year ago and you were thinking about making a move. I just wanted to reach out and see if that's still on your radar. Obviously, a lot of things are changing. So if it has, no big deal, just let me know. We'll talk soon. You can reach me at blank and blank, or text me back if that works better at this number. Something along those lines. So that's a voicemail. We give our users of that, by the way, a script to follow. So it's really easy. So we do that, and then you get a text message right after that. So Nate, you get a text, very similar language, and then you get another text with a thumbs up saying, that would say, hey, just let me know what you're thinking, with a thumbs up. Here's why this matters. I told you, remember 25%, right? In the manual model of follow-up, we would contact roughly 25% within one full day. We are contacting 36% now when we're automating it within one day. And you're not doing anything, literally doing nothing besides them calling you back or them texting you back. Now, here's the other crazy thing is, in the old school model of follow-up, you'd have to move that follow-up back and repeat over and over, right? We put them on these plans, and the way we built them is it keeps chasing for up to a year or longer. One of the plans for more of the long-term opportunities will chase them for years for you. And what it does is at day 7, what happens is they get another text, right? We're getting 17% more people to respond. Then another 7 days later, another 11%. Then it goes down to like 5, 6, and then we of course send out the aliens message, bumps up to 16% again. You're not having to do any follow-up anymore. So what we're thinking is going to happen, Nate, is this year, Jim is going to be a part of about 200 transactions, give or take, somewhere around there. I think he's already at 130 to 150, somewhere in that range. By the way, I don't know if I told you this, Nate, but our real estate team's production is going to balloon from 630 to about 850 to 900 this year. And automation is a key piece of that. There's 2 things that are driving it. Automation is definitely one of them. But Jim and I shouldn't say Jim and I, Jim's goal next year that we're talking about is 350 closings as an ISA. And that never would have been feasible before until automation. What this allows you to do is you can put how many leads on these fully automated campaigns. You don't have to sit there and manually do it anymore. And what that does is it frees up your time to go and call new leads quicker, to respond to the other people quicker. So it's just working smarter. So I think this is honestly going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread to happen to lead conversion, is really what I think is going to happen. So as you can tell, I get excited about it. So
Awesome. Yeah, I think that it's going to be amazing to see if Jim can get to that 350 number. I think he can. I think that the proof is in the pudding with what you guys have done with your team to balloon from 650 to 850 or whatever. It's automation.
It's one of the core things. Yeah.
And I think that obviously, especially in today's world, the digital transformation is coming. It's coming for everyone. Obviously, you know, in real estate, it comes with DocuSign and signing papers digitally, but it also comes in the form of lead conversion, texting, voicemails, automation. That is equally the digital transformation as much as it's, you know, with it is with online documents. Mm-hmm. Trista has a question. Do your automation plans work with existing leads?
Is that for, do you think, Hatch ISA things or these fully automated plans? Should we answer both?
Yeah.
And maybe she'll provide some clarity there. So, do your automation plans work with existing leads? Yeah, absolutely. Actually, these automated plans I was talking about, and I'll let you take the other one, Nate. It is literally built for existing leads. It's built for the person that's told you they're a year out, 18 months out. What we created was a now version. So the now version's meant to be used with past due follow-ups because, let's be honest, every single ISA or agent has past due follow-ups they haven't got to yet. So they use the now version to get caught up on those. Then they, in the future, if somebody wants to be follow up in 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, 24 months, you put them on those plans. Now, the other cool thing that we did, Nate, was if we put them on a 12-month plan, we don't go silent up until 12 months. We check in at the 4 and 8 month mark. And it's just a, hey, Nate, we connected a while back and weren't ready to make a move. I just wanted to reach out and see if your plans have changed at all, right? Or to see if you're maybe moved up your timeline. And then at the 8 month mark, a very similar thing. So it's doing the follow-up really in the in-between for you. So it's kind of a cool thing to see. But yeah, it's literally used with existing leads.
Yep. And same with Hatch ISA or structurally. When we talk about Hatch ISA, that is add-on to a structurally product, and fully automated messaging that Robby's talking about is a messaging plan that can work with CRMs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the Hatch ISA or structurally can also work with existing leads, similar to Robby's plans since he helped to build them. But they come out with, you know, hey, you'd been on one of our websites in the past. I just wanted to follow up to see if you had any plans to move or something like that. So the initial messages and the drip messages that go out are different. They're tailored to existing leads or older leads. But a lot of what we've talked about here still applies. If and when you do get a lead to respond, which is what we're all after, the conversations are pretty much the same. You know, if they say, I'm just looking again, still challenge them, ask if the right home came on the market in the next 90 days, would they consider moving, so on and so forth. So those scripts are pretty much the same, but it can work with existing leads.
Yep, exactly. You're just using it in a different way. Different tenses matter a lot. Like asking a new lead, hey, I saw that you were looking at some homes a while ago. That'd be weird, right? Or if somebody was an old lead and you say, hey, I just saw that you were looking at some homes today. Or I just saw that you were just looking at some homes. People are like, what? No.
Yeah, doesn't work. No.
And little tenses like that can make a big deal. But yeah, you got to guide them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of the final call for questions. Otherwise, I think we're gonna wrap things there. This is all going to be available, sent to your email. After this is done, we'll also put it on our Structurally YouTube page. You can just go to YouTube and search Structurally. Robby, where can more people learn about Hatch messaging or yourself?
We're finally getting smarter, and we now have a page for Hatch messaging and systems on our Hatch coaching page. We actually have our link as well to learn more about the Hatch ISA that we offer structural users. Just go to Hatch coaching, scroll down, you'll see where to go. It's all there. We're finally getting smarter with this stuff.
Got it.
So
cool.
That's it.
We'll leave it there. We appreciate everything. If you guys want to get in touch with us, find us on those websites below. Aid will be back with some more automation tips and lead conversion tips in the future. Looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Robby.
Thanks, Nate. Peace, brother. Bye-bye.
Bye.